go. All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight for 10th grade parent night. We're going to get started in just a second. I think you can start sharing the slides now, Mr. Guilford. All right. And I think we're going to do introductions before we get to the question slide.
So welcome everybody out there. I'm Andrew Guilford. I'm the principal at ISB, and so glad you joined us for 10th grade or sophomore parent-student night. Want to be able to share with you tonight some things that will be happening for your child, for your student at ISB over the next couple of years. Before we jump into that.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Sorry.
Before we do that, though, we'll do some introductions, and we'll each go around and we've got some students here as well as some staff members. And what we'll do is we'll share with you kind of who we are, what our role is, and then something that we value most or enjoy most about the 11th, 12th grade year at ISB. So like I said, I'm Andrew Guilford. I'm the principal at ISB. And, this is my first year here. And I have very intentionally tried to just have conversations with and engage students as much as possible, especially at the junior and senior level, as I know that they are transitioning on beyond ISB and have a lot to share with me and teach me about what an amazing place ISB is. And I am so struck when I talk with students as to just how adult they are and how darn smart they are also. And when I sit across from students in my office, I am constantly impressed by how much their thinking and their questioning honestly stretches me and stretches my thinking. And so I've just really appreciated getting to know those students, especially those that are in that 11th and 12th grade year.
I'll jump in. Hi, everyone. My name is Scott Gladney. I'm the assistant principal at ISB. And I think the favorite thing I enjoy about our juniors and seniors is many of them I've known since they were 11, maybe 12. And this is absolutely the payoff of all their hard work. Some of them from the last 5 years, from 6th grade through 10th grade. This is the payoff. This is what all the hard work is about. And it really starts shining. It comes through. Kids are prepared and they just achieve. It's one of the best things that I love about ISB, especially these 2 grades. I'm going to kick it off to Amy.
Hi there, I'm Amy Schuff. I'm the IB Diploma Program Coordinator. So in addition to being an IB teacher in the Individuals and Societies group 3, I'm a IB Psychology. I also work with the entire 11th grade team of teachers and also all the students to help them dot I's, cross T's, and make sure that they're getting through the IB diploma program in any way that they choose to get through it. The thing that I love about it is this is my 3rd IB World School to work at, and this is the first IB World School where the entire school is in it together. It's not an elitist group of just some kids, but it's the entire high school. And I love that it's not lovely necessarily for the kids that we have a limited program. It's a small program, which means we have limited offerings, but everyone's in the same classes for the most part. And that community of all being together, everyone knows what to do and they're talking it out and they're discussing it together. And there's definitely a sense of students are in it together. And I love that. Tracy.
Hi, I'm Tracy Meilenberg. I am one of the high school counselors at ISB. This is my 9th year, I think, here, and I love the school very much. It's become kind of a second home to me. Some of my best friends work at the school, so it's really become a special place. I'm also a parent of an 8th grader, a 7th grader, and a soon to be next year, a 6th grader. And the reason I bring that up is because one of my favorite things, new favorite things, is that I see what they're working on, and I know what is ahead of them in junior and senior year, and I see how well prepared they are for what's coming ahead of them. And mostly, actually, I'll just say that my favorite thing is just talking to kids. I really, really enjoy talking to the students and watching their minds work and talking to them about their hopes and their dreams.
And I don't know, did Chris Ryder jump on yet or not? I'm not sure if she did or not.
I don't think she did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll move down to the students. Maya, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Maya. I'm a senior at ISB, and one of my favorite things about IB and the students in my class are how everybody supports each other when everybody's freaking out about tests. Everybody kind of becomes a community and helps each other, whether it's like helping people with adapt from their weaknesses or grow from their strengths. It's one big community.
Awesome. Ethan?
Oh, hello. My name's Ethan, junior at ISB. One of the things that I enjoy about ISB is similar to Maya, where it's just the tight-knit community that grows over the course of the MYP and DP years, where everyone kind of gets to know each other since there's such a small student population.
And Diana?
Hello, my name is Diana Rice-Canella, and I'm a senior at ISB. My favorite part of ISB is having been there since the 6th grade. I can also definitely attest to the fact that at ISB we have a really close-knit community. We're not only students support one another, but teachers are very much there to support students along the way.
Thank you. And Caleb?
Hello, my name is Caleb. I'm a junior at ISB. Similar to what all the other students said in Ms. Chef, I also really enjoy the tight-knit community, and I joined ISB as a 9th grader, but I found it really easy to make friends, and even more recently with 11th grade. Just have a lot of shared experiences and struggles as we try to get through first semester.
So,
all right.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'll just go over how to ask questions. You'll obviously have questions throughout the course of the evening. The way to ask a question is you can either type it in the chat on the YouTube channel, or we will be monitoring a Padlet. So I'll put a link to the Padlet into the YouTube chat now, and you can link there and ask your questions. We will mostly be answering the questions at the end of the presentation, but feel free to put your questions in there at any time.
Tonight, we're going to be discussing 3 main topics and then make space for questions and answers. And we have our students here to kind of they are representing different experiences, different courses, different pathways through this IB diploma. So their voice is going to be interspersed throughout, and we will hear from them over the course of the presentation. But we really want to explain to you, what is this 2-year IB diploma program? It really is something different than what your students have been experiencing up to this point. Although in a weird way, it is just the next year of school, but it is its own discrete thing. We want to talk about some of the real benefits of doing an IB diploma program. And then we want to talk about what it means to do the IB diploma program here at ISB, because some of you probably do have options. There are other schools in our district, 3 other high schools that offer an IB diploma program. And if that's your home high school and you're wondering about, do we stay or do we go? We think you should stay, and we're going to tell you why. So that's tonight. So the IB diploma program, if you look at this circle, you can see at the very, very middle of the circle is the student. And at the heart of the student, there are a variety of students there. And you can see that it goes from there, and we move into the IB learner profile, which your students have been familiar with. And we should take a moment and hear, if you could, Maya, which IB learner profile attribute do you resonate with?
I would say open-minded. I feel ISB really perpetuates the idea of open-mindedness through our diverse community, and the amount of different topics we cover in our curriculum. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you. Diana?
I'd say communicator because, like Maya said, we have a very diverse community. And personally, I think we do a really good job of teaching people that they should be in bilingual, trilingual, and sometimes even multilingual through our teaching of certain courses that other schools don't offer.
Cool. Caleb?
I think maybe principled because we have to learn how to manage our time really well to be able to get all the coursework done and also be able to do CAS and things.
Yeah, cool. Ethan?
I think maybe risk taker because the IB is a very different course curriculum from a lot of different schools, which requires you to kind of expand into areas where you might not have like dabbled in before.
So great. Awesome. Thank you very much. So we have the IB learner profile, and then we have, you can see theory of knowledge, extended essay, and creativity, activity, and service. And that's called the core. And the core curriculum, we're going to talk about that later. That is the 2-year program at heart. In addition to that, we have the different courses that students take. And you can see that there's 6 different groups. And those 6 different groups, students choose one course at least from each of those different groups. And then you can see that it's all about international mindedness, weaving the entire thing together. So that's the IB diploma program. Very, very big. In more specific, it really is a 2-year program. And students, again, they take one course at least from each of those different 6 groups. 3 of them need to be higher level. 3 of them need to be standard level. It is possible for some students to do 4 higher level and 2 standard level. At ISB, all of our courses are 2-year courses. This is not the case at other high schools where some of the SLs are a 1-year course. So for all of us, it's 2-year courses. And in some of the courses, you don't know until the senior year if you're going to SL or if you're going to HL in that course. So it's just all taught together, and you kind of see where you are in October of the senior year, and that's when you're in a position to make your decision. In addition to the actual courses of the IB diploma program, the core, again, is really important, and it's over the course of 2 years. We call it concurrency of learning over 2 years. So one thing that students do is they write an extended essay, and that is a 4,000-word independent research. Actually, I'm going to get to that in a second. They write an extended essay. They take a class called Theory of Knowledge, and then they also complete a full CAS program, and CAS stands for Creativity, Activity, and Service. Next slide, please. Okay, more specifics. So the extended essay is a 4,000-word essay. It's research-based, it's thesis-driven, it's supervised by an ISB faculty member, but anyone can get help from anybody. You don't have to just get help from your supervisor. Maya and Diana have completed theirs, and Caleb and Ethan are getting going literally as we speak. Maybe not as we speak. I hope you're not researching during this presentation, but this is actually an ISB high school graduation requirement. Every high school in Oregon has a senior graduation requirement, and at our school, it's this. So there's that. TOK, Theory of Knowledge, is a 2-year course. It's done second semester of the junior year and first semester of the senior year. And it challenges students to really ask questions about what they're learning, about their courses, about their experiences, and to really kind of think more broadly about how do I know what I know? And what does it even mean to know? And then we have CAS. And CAS, we really believe deeply, IB believes deeply that students really are their best selves, not in school, but in the kinds of things they do outside of school, or even the kinds of things they do outside of their courses. You may not remember 12 years from now, 20 years from now, you may not remember, the neurology, like what a neurotransmitter is from psychology class, but you probably will remember that cool CAS thing where you like put together that neat portfolio where you raised money for whatever, and then you ran around Hag Lake a couple times, and that's the kind of stuff, those stories that you tell years after high school. That's CAS. We really do believe it's important for students to be balanced and not just do academics. It's important to be a full person and get some hobbies going and exercise and think about their larger community through service. So that's that's also.
So we're going to hear from some students a little bit. Diana and Maya, do either of you want to share your just in a few words, few sentences, your extended essay topics? Diana, you want to kick us off?
Sure. So my extended essay topic was analyzing the main factors that I thought contributed to the decline of democracy. So given the nature of the paper I did, which Michelle will probably talk about later, it was world studies. So essentially I looked at the decline of democracy on a global scale, and then I eventually narrowed it down to a case study, which was the United States, because that was a point of interest for me. And then I took what I saw, and then I would ultimately expand upon it. But that's what I did.
Awesome. Thank you. And Maya, how about you?
So I also did a world studies essay. Mine was on the regressive effects of Western intervention in foreign conflicts. And I took a look at the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, where I looked at how US intervention was ultimately regressive in progressing towards a solution. And I chose that topic because it resonated with me and my heritage. So it was actually pretty interesting to look at and wasn't too bad of an essay to write.
Thank you both. I know you're just getting this kicked off, Ethan and Caleb, but do you have any thoughts about where you want to possibly go with your extended essay? And if the answer is not yet, that's an acceptable answer. Ethan, why don't you kick us off here?
Oh, okay. So far I've chosen a subject area within film. It's not necessarily an IB course offered at ISB, but you can pick it if you have experience in IB art or just general knowledge in that area. And for now, I'm considering doing topics such as, to what extent German expressionism techniques from the 1900s or the later 1900s are expressed within a recent television series.
So cool.
Okay. Wow. And Caleb, how about you?
My topic isn't as advanced in the works as Ethan. I know I'm doing world studies and I know I'm doing something about college entrance exams, but I do not have a question yet.
Okay. Okay, that's fair. You still have time, so no worries. And I'm going to go back to the seniors. Let's start with Maya. Can you help us with something you did in CAS, something that either you're proud of or something that you want to share with the group?
So CAS actually, it really isn't that bad because I basically do it on a daily basis. One of my main things in CAS is going to the gym on a daily basis and logging my workouts. And then for my CAS project, I've been working with a couple of my classmates on creating a club at ISB called the Asian Student Association. And while it's been hard to necessarily develop it through the first semester, we're trying to get it kickstarted during the second semester, where hopefully our course load won't be as heavy.
Nice. Diana?
My CAS project right now is that I started up the International Snacks Club, which is a middle school club that meets during advisory so that our middle school students could also be involved in clubs, since many of them often don't have transportation after school. So essentially what I do for every meeting, which is maybe every other week or so, is I make a small presentation about the country that they're interested. I give them an overview of their country. So our last country, for example, was Japan. And then for fun, I provide them with 3 popular snacks from that country. So they get a taste for the culture, general knowledge, and of course the food.
Nice. How do I join that?
Just stop by. We're in Miss Love's room Wednesdays.
Deal. I'm gonna jump to the juniors now. TOK, it's just getting started for you, and you're probably trying to make sense of it. What are you thinking so far with your theory of knowledge class? Let's go with Caleb first. Caleb.
It's a lot. It's cool to be thinking through a really different point of view and sort of finding out how we know what we know. It's just getting started though, and so we haven't gone too in depth, but I can already tell that it's gonna really help improve how I see the world.
Okay, thank you. Ethan, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Not really. I think Caleb has outlined how most of us feel about TOK. so far. It's definitely a different and interesting class, and it forces you kind of to dive more into the critical thinking aspects of knowledge.
Yeah. And I'm going to ask our seniors now that your theory of knowledge is done, Maya, what chime in. What are your thoughts on after completing a year of theory of knowledge?
TOK was definitely not my favorite class by far, but I kind of did enjoy writing my TOK essay. I wrote about if knowledge can be independent of culture, and I actually did enjoy finding different examples in my life, in real world examples of how that applied to the world. So in the end, it wasn't too bad, and it ended on a good note.
That's super cool. Diana.
So I found TOK to be a little difficult at the start of the halfway of through my junior year, and then I figured it out towards the end through the exhibition. And then, like Maya said, at the end of TOK, you are expected to write an essay. So I wrote mine up answering the prompt of how do historians and human scientists give knowledge meaning through the telling of stories. So it was very fun to work through that essay and use history and human sciences to analyze how stories can give something meaning.
All right. Well, thank you all for sharing a little bit. I know I was putting you on the spot with some of those questions, so totally appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so every IB course is scored on a scale of 1 to 7. So if you have 6 courses times 7, that's 42 points. And then between the extended essay and TOK, between those two things, those two aspects of the core, you can potentially get an additional 3 points. So the perfect IB diploma is 45 points. We don't really think that much about that. We don't really worry that much about it. We're much more engaged with having students have a good experience in the process and not chase points, as it were. The way you earn these 1 to 7 points, though, is through the assessments, and they're official IB assessments, and they're kind of scattered throughout the senior year. There are some of these that happen junior year, like IB psychology is a junior IA. The rest of them, I think, are senior year pretty much, but they're very well supported, and they really are, students are set up well for all of these assessments. So the internal assessments, those are internally assessed, which means the teacher of the course is the person who actually grades it. And that gets, we give the grades to IB. IB looks at the grades, and then they ask to see a cross-section, a sample of student work. We send that to IB, and then basically the teacher is being judged on whether or not they're hold true to the international standard. And so teachers work really hard to get the rubrics right, to get the mark schemes right, and we're pretty good overall. The internal assessments are essentially the kind of work that a practitioner of that academic discipline would do. So for example, in psychology, we replicate a study because that's what psychologists do. In biology, they run a study because that's what biologists do. In art, they put together an exhibition because that's what visual artists do, is they exhibit work. In English, they write, and they do presentations about literary criticism. So it's those kinds of things that students do, and then much of it happens in class, and then students are expected to do stuff outside of class as well. The external assessments, for the most part, are exams, and those exams take place in the month of May of the senior year. There are some external assessments that IB grades directly that we don't grade at all. And that's the HL written task for English that is uploaded directly to IB. Additionally, for music and visual arts, there's whole portfolios of work that gets uploaded to IB, and IB grades those directly. So these assessments together, there's various percentages, like in this course for this thing, depending upon if it's SL or HL, this is 20%, this is 25%, it really doesn't matter. But the point is that there's a variety of different assessments, and all of these assessments go into a course grade. This 1 to 7 scale, by the way, is not the BSD or ISB grading scale. So when a student gets an A, B, C, or D in a course, that has nothing to do with this 1 to 7. I mean, they kind of match, but it really is a separate grading system.
All right. So what are the benefits of taking the IB program? And there are many benefits, but the one that we chose to focus on the slide was the critical thinking skills that the students gain. And I don't know about you, but just listening to our students speak tonight, it's pretty obvious that they have some pretty high level critical thinking skills by the time they get to senior year. And so this is something that the IBO has actually researched and has found data on that they develop critical thinking skills. And that's one of my favorite things about IB is that it's a whole program where the goal is to challenge kids to think critically, and they really, really do a great job of that. One of the other benefits, and this is, I always get this slide because this is my favorite slide. We get data from the National Clearinghouse, which tracks persistence from freshman to sophomore year for students in college. Nationally, it's around 70% of students move on from freshman to sophomore year. But at ISB, our students move on from freshman to sophomore year at 95%. And so that, to me, that says that they got the skills and the thinking ability, the academic skills, the time management skills, all of the skills that you need in order to be successful in college and to persist through university and get a degree. And it's one of the reasons that college admissions officers really pursue students who are going for the full IB diploma. So what do you need to be successful? So obviously you need to study. We've mentioned those skills that you need to balance and the time management skills and things like that. I added sleep this year. It's really important that you balance yourself enough that you are getting good sleep every night. The students who are tearful in my office, I've come to ask them, the first question I ask them, how much sleep did you get last night? And almost always the answer is, I didn't sleep very much. And I said, okay, go home, take a nap, and then come back and talk to me. And almost always they're better once they get that sleep. So make sure that you're prioritizing that. They set goals. Another really, really important one, and this is something that I've been preaching to my own kids, is self-advocate with both peers and adults. That the most successful students go and talk to their teachers when they don't understand something or when they get a grade that they weren't expecting, that they go and see that teacher. Teachers have made it really easy to set up appointments. A lot of them have ways that you can book an appointment with them, or you can just go see them after school, or you can come to them during advisory. Our teachers are fabulous about working with students, but they do expect the students to go see them. One thing that's really important is that your student wants to do this, that they want to do the IB program, that they aren't doing it because because the parents are telling them to, that they have the internal motivation to do the IB program, because it is work and there's no way around that. But if you're motivated to do it, you can absolutely get through it. They want to be challenged, and they see the connection to their future goals, that most of our students are going on to college. Not all of them are going to go on to college. Some of them decide that they want to go into a certificate program or an apprenticeship, but most of our students, the vast majority, end up going on to a 2 or 4 year school. And so this is the best preparation for that.
Time to check in with our students again. I want to hear from them on ways that they have found success. I'm going to start at the bottom of my screen. I'm going to start with Caleb. Caleb, what are some things that you do that help you find success in the 11th grade?
Yeah, so I think there's a few main things. First is just that it's really important to take notes and to take notes on like everything that the teacher I mean, not everything, but to take notes, not just on what's in the lesson, but like what the teacher's saying. So if someone asks a question and like it's applicable to not just that student, to take notes on it, because it can really help you get a better understanding of what the teacher is looking for in the assessments, and that can, just help your grade. And also going and making sure that like we get our homework done before the next class, so that we're staying up to date with the material, and then like creating study groups to help like make sure we're staying up to date, and then like studying whenever we have big tests.
Thank you. Ethan.
I think, Caleb mostly outlined the things that I would say, especially a lot of emphasis on working collaboratively with other students. One way that our grade in particular has, or our year in particular has found a lot of success, is forming big communities where we can all keep each other accountable and provide resources that we may have missed or notes from classes. And that way it isn't just a singular effort, and it builds kind of a stronger sense of community and friendship among students at ISB.
Love that. Yes, I see the heart by Ms. Schuff. I absolutely love that. That warms my heart as well. Maya, what kind of things do you do to helps you find success now that you've been through the 11th grade and you're on the home stretch of your senior year?
So I'd say one of the things that has really helped me excel during these past 2 years is actually learning how to study and how to study efficiently. One thing that actually really helped me learn how to study was my own psychology class. Just like extracting different facts from the studies that we learn. And then also I like to watch a lot of YouTube videos about IB students or even medical students, because I want to go to medical school, and I learn how they study and their techniques, and seeing like different techniques and trying them out for myself, and then learning what works best for me really helps me use my time most efficiently and be most prepared for my exams and assignments.
Awesome. Thank you. And Diana, bring us home.
For me, I definitely found a lot of success throughout the DP program in terms of like establishing relationships with my teachers and learning to ask for help when I need it. Often, a lot of times, I'd say students have this stigma that asking for help is, I guess, a point of shame, but it most certainly is not, especially when you need it. It's a very strong skill. So just in general, just being at ISB and being able to build these like one-on-one connections with my teachers, especially in progress and like processes that are like more one-on-one, such as the EE, has been very helpful to me.
Awesome. Now, all of you talked about academics. I'm going to put you on the spot. We're going to go reverse order this time. And I want to know what you do to find balance and joy in your life. This is heavy academics, and that's pretty common knowledge, but how do you keep it balanced and keep yourself centered? Diana.
I'd say sports is a big one. So in the fall, I played volleyball, and then throughout the school year, I do taekwondo. So I gotta say, kicking some pads and hearing that nice boom sound is very relaxing.
Awesome. Maya?
So this might be kind of contradictory, but I really like working. I have a job. So I try to pack my schedule full of shifts so I like interacting with my coworkers, and I have a lot of friends at my work that are actually my own age from different schools. So I like becoming friends with them, and then just kind of having independence outside of school in a different environment to grow my personality in.
Thank you. Ethan.
Like organizing events and hanging out with friends outside of school, and kind of just like doing dumb things with friends to kind of like take the edge off of all the IB classes, like buying your teacher like a table or something.
Being a kid. All right, Caleb, how about you, man?
Yeah, similar to Ethan, I think hanging out with friends is really important. And like Diana, I also find that doing sports, I do cross country and track, so I run year round, and just having something that I need to focus on if I want to perform well, it just makes me stop thinking about school for a little bit. And then when I get back to the homework, I'm able to focus a bit better.
Thank you all. It sounds like all of you have very interesting lives outside of your academics, which I'm very happy to hear. Thank you.
So I think just hearing the students' voices and hearing students thinking on this hopefully makes you realize how unique of a place ISB is. In part, that's just because of the IB program, Part is because of the community that we've built at ISB. I know many of their high schools in our district offer the IB program, but I think there are some things that we do a little bit differently at ISB that are unique. One, it's important to understand that we're a full IB school. So every single student who is going into their junior year and into their senior year is taking a course load and working towards candidacy for a full IB diploma. There's not students who are just doing bits and pieces of it. There's not students who are doing, well, I'll do the English IB course, but then nothing in math. That if you're at ISB, you are working towards that full IB diploma, which also means, like Amy was saying earlier, we have TOK, we've got CAS, we've got the extended essay. All those things are interwoven in what we do. Because this is what we do and what the International School of Beaverton is all about, we ensure that every student that comes through here can achieve a success. So it's not, while, and students have sort of alluded to this, as have some of the staff, it's certainly a rigorous program, and is a program I think that challenges and stretches all students. But as a program and as a school, because it is what we do, we have built the supports necessary to ensure that each kid is going to get the support they need, is going to be successful in that. That's what our school is oriented towards. You heard the students talking about accessing teachers in that way. You heard the students talking about accessing each other. And are they stressed at times? Absolutely. And do we have fun at times? We really do. It's hard to imagine a day that doesn't go by without me laughing or smiling at something. While at the same point, seeing the way the students are working hard. We encourage every student to test for the full IB diploma. So not only to take that course load, but in the spring of their senior year to actually do those external assessments, as well as the internal ones, so that they can in fact qualify for that diploma. There's some structural things we have in place to continue to support students. Obviously, the AVID program goes all the way through 12th grade. So we have some of our 11th graders and 12th graders in AVID, which is a program aimed at helping and supporting first-generation college-going students in the college application process, in making those decisions and figuring out financial aid, seeking out scholarships, those kinds of things. So we support a number of our students through AVID. The way we do extended essay is perhaps a little bit different at IB. We've actually built in extended essay into some course time during the final quarter of their junior year, as well as also a little bit during their TOK course. We want our students to be successful in that extended essay, not just to see it as a hoop. And so we purposely shifted our schedule and worked with our schedule to make sure that there was class time that they were receiving support for their extended essay through that IB seminar class, through their TOK, but also through this rotation that they do, extended rotation they do through their other classes. And then the other thing I want to throw in there is this notion of student retreats. There has been a number of times where outside the typical school day, we say, hey, we are opening up the school. This is a retreat day. Come on in. We're going to get together. We're going to have some great food. We're going to have some great fun, but we're also going to do some work. And in a simultaneously more relaxed, but also more intentional environment to help students with some of the hiccups they might be having along the way, and to give them some designated time to get through the work that they need to get through. And so we'll continue to do that. Sometimes those in the summer. Last year we had a slip and slide out there on a pretty hot day after students worked on their extended essays. And sometimes it's during the school year as well. I think some students were in just this past Tuesday, yesterday during the professional development day, working on some things. So back to students briefly. I know some of you only came in 9th grade. Some of you have been here all the way from 6th grade. At some point along the way, whether that was after 8th grade and maybe again after 10th grade, you made a choice to stay at ISB. You could have gone back to your home high school, but yet you made the choice to stay. And I'd love to hear sort of why. What was it that you said made you say, okay, I'm going to stay at ISB and go through the full experience there? And we'll just kind of popcorn out. Whoever wants to go first can go first.
I can go first. So the reason I stayed at ISB is mainly two things. I came into ISB in the 6th grade knowing that I wanted that IB diploma, because in my mind, it was a way for me to achieve my goals, which for me, being a first generation college student, is going to college. So that's how I decided that I was going to pursue the IB diploma program. But I'd say the main reason I stayed more than anything is the community, because I realized that the community at ISB is not only diverse and it challenges you to become not only a better person, but a better student as well. is just knowing that I had that supportive community within my peers and within the staff, which I think is not found everywhere else.
Okay. Ethan?
I stayed mainly for two reasons, and that being kind of the tight-knit community that I know will mostly be here through the end of senior year, that I've built kind of relationships and friendships with since sixth grade for some, and using kind of and sticking with the unique groundwork that the MYP program has laid about international lenses and critical thinking in like different subject areas. I feel like it's something that I can't really get at any other school. So just sticking with it, ISB is worth it.
Thanks. Maya?
So I didn't actually go to ISB for middle school. I went to Cedar Park Middle School. So I kind of got like, I guess you could classify it as a regular middle school experience. And honestly, that was enough for me. I didn't want a regular high school experience after that, because there was already a lot of social pressure at middle school, and I really didn't want that for my high school experience. I love that ISB's the class size is literally like 80 to 90 kids, versus my homeschool Sunset. I'd have like 500 kids in my grade, and I already have friends at Sunset, so I kind of get a look into their world. And honestly, I'm so glad that I made the decision to stay at ISB, just for the fact that everybody's doing the IB diploma program. So you have that community there backing you up during the entire journey.
Thank you. Caleb?
Yes, I think like what Maya was saying with everyone doing IB, my home high school is Mountainside, and I have friends that are taking full IB, and I know it's a lot harder for them just since they see everyday people who are only taking a few IB classes. And so it's easy for them to maybe question why they're doing full IB, but at ISB, everyone does it. And so you're just in this community where everyone's doing it and you're all struggling together and you all get through it together. And so it's okay. And then also just ISB is ranked really high nationally. And so colleges will notice that. And that's cool.
So in that struggling through it together that Caleb just sort of referred to, and the sense of community, that pays off. That pays off for our students. We have 100% graduation rate of our students. Of our students who ultimately take those external exams and have completed the internal assessment, around actually 95% of our students actually sit for the exams, and around 70%, sometimes higher, sometimes lower, consistently earn that IB diploma. And which is amazing, to have that high of a rate from a school, and it's true across the world, earning the IB diploma, just shows the sense of what not only the support and the systems are in place, but also I would argue just sort of the teaching that's there and the support from the teachers as part of that as well. And around 45% of our students earn a 30 or higher. And Amy, remind me again, what's the cutoff score?
The 30-point diploma means a student is averaging 5s in their courses, and 5s pretty much nationally in many schools are where you start to get college credit. In the state of Oregon and in the state of Washington, the public universities, if you get 4s, then you can get college credit. But in lots of private schools, you need to get 5s. Additionally, at Oregon State University and at Pacific University, if you can get a 30-point diploma, then you're eligible for special scholarship funds, as well as potentially sophomore status. So that 30-point diploma is pretty cool.
So Tracy, I think this is back to you, right?
Yes, I just had to get myself off mute. Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit about forecasting. I'm going to try to go quickly through these slides since we have lots of questions and I want to make time for that. So we can move on to the next slide. So we want to really make sure that we say that the IB diploma and the high school diploma are two different things. And our number one priority is always students graduating from high school in the state of Oregon. And so, and the graduation requirements are the same as the entrance, that the Oregon State or the Oregon high school graduation requirements are the same as the Oregon Public University entry requirement. So that's 4 years of English, 3 years of math, 3 years of social studies, 3 years of science, 2 years of a world language, and a couple other credits in addition to that. We obviously do way more than this to get the full IB diploma. but this is always our first priority as students go through the program to make sure that they're staying on track to get the regular high school diploma. And then obviously a lot of our students also get the International Baccalaureate diploma. We want to emphasize that these are 2-year courses. We said that earlier in the presentation. So what you sign up for, your forecasting next year is pretty easy. It's kind of like, okay, let's do that again. So it's really hard to, you have some choices now, but you won't be able to change much after you select your 2-year program. So if you remember the hexagon at the beginning of the presentation, there are 6 groups that are part of the IB diploma program. Around the world, there's lots of different courses that count for each of these groups, but this is what we offer at ISB. Group 1 will be English language and literature. Group 2 is your world language. Group 3 is history of Asia. Group 4 is biology for all students. Group 5 is math, and that's very much dependent on what you are in now. If you're in pre-calculus, you are either choosing higher level math, higher level analysis and approaches, or standard level analysis and approaches. If you're in AGS 3, you are going to go to math, application, and interpretation. And then group 6 is where your biggest choice comes into play. So group 6 is your elective. And you can choose from visual arts, music, psychology, global politics, chemistry. You also could take, we didn't have this on the slide, but you also could take an additional, you could take self-taught language, and we'll talk about that because we have a question about that at the end. And we're going to spend some time, we're just going to take a little bit of time to go over each one of those quickly. That's you, Amy.
No, actually, Ethan, can you tell us
yeah,
a little
that's right.
bit? Ethan, can you tell us what visual arts is like?
Yeah, so IB Visual Arts, SL or HL, is if your student has taken a previous art class that wasn't an IB art class, it is essentially the same thing. What IB art provides is basically a very limited framework where you have guidance on how to academically write about your artwork and guidance about how to organize a body of several artworks that you can eventually put together in an exhibition to present to the examiners. Throughout the year, you'll be doing various written assignments, both comparing the artworks of local and international artists, as well as reflecting on your own art and the process in which you take to create it. Generally, it's a relatively laid back IB class compared to what I've heard from the other IB classes, but it gives you a lot of opportunities to kind of explore visual styles, your own art skills, and kind of show off your knowledge about kind of just all things art in general. It's like art nerds. Yeah.
Maya, this is you.
So IB Psychology is a class where you're basically learning psychology, and that's what the class is called. But there's 3 units, the biological unit, the cognitive unit, and the sociocultural unit. And then we're also there's also the optional unit, which we're doing, I believe, human relationships. For the internal assessment, you do a psychological experiment. It's less intimidating than it sounds. You basically pick from a list of different topics. They all have to do with the cognitive unit, which is what you learn first. You also do it in a group, so you have that group support to run it, so you're not solo. And then there's only 2 exams for the external exams. One is a 2-hour exam with 3 short essays and then 1 longer essay. And then the second one, I believe, is a longer essay. The essays in psychology, if you don't really like writing, they're really not that bad. You're just concocting an essay of like your theory, which you learn a lot about, and then studies that support the theory. So it's a pretty great class, honestly. I love that the content relates to everything you kind of experience in your day-to-day life. So the content is pretty easy to grasp if you relate it to your actual everyday life.
Diana, this is you.
So I do IB chemistry. I'd say chemistry, like Maya said, it's a class except instead of psychology, we do chemistry. But overall, I'd say that I chose this class because I decided I'd rather have a class where I do more lab reports than traditional essay writing. So for example, when it comes to like the IA, we're about to finish those up actually. I believe our IAs are due Monday. But my IA that I did was I basically designed an experiment. So I tried to discover what the effect was of temperature on the rate of hydrolysis for aspirin. And I have other classmates who, for example, studied the amount of iron in carrots. Another person took the pH of certain acidic candies. Another studied the amount of like carbonation in a 7-Up can. So it's basically you can take any interest you have and just apply what you learn in class to see if you can make a discovery there. But overall, I'd say chemistry is pretty fun, and like the stuff you learn can help you later in life. For example, I'm pursuing I want to be a doctor when I grow up, so I decided chemistry would be a nice way to see what that's like, especially since in the senior year you get a small taste of OChem, which is lovely.
I'm going to take IB Music. This is a new course for ISB. We've been offering IB Music for a long time, but it's a new curriculum given to us by IB. Every 7 years or so, IB completely blows up whatever it is and recreates a whole new course. And so this is the new course. And so where we used to have IB band and IB choir, and then we did some music theory senior year, that is gone. And now we have a 2-year course, just like the other 2-year courses. And students literally are asked to create music, research music, and perform music. It's actually very much like what Ethan was talking about with the visual arts course. It's for music nerds as opposed to art nerds. And it really asks you to inquire into, music for political expression, music for listening, music for entertainment, and music in terms of music technology. Those are really 4 distinct areas of music. And students create a portfolio of their experimentation and their performances. You don't have to have been in band. You don't have to have been in choir at ISB. If you are proficient with a musical instrument, if you are in your bedroom messing around on a guitar at a pretty decent level, then you can read music, you're good to go for this class if you're interested. If you are working on level 10 piano or whatever, if you're playing violin and this is something you're passionate about, IB Music very well could be a cool class for you. So you get to just sort of noodle around and learn the context for this thing that is all around us all the time. And it's a pretty neat experience that IB is designed for us. Global politics is not in there. Is that true? Caleb, quick, what's GLOPO? What's global politics? We don't have a slide there it is.
Okay. So GLOPO is, as a class, I think it's one of the more laid back classes similar to art. It's not as intense as chemistry, but it's really cool. So this is the first year ISB has offered it, I think, or at least with our current teacher. And so it's kind of cool to be sort of developing the curriculum as we go, because it's really able to just be based off of world events and what's happening currently. And so, like, for example, our teacher is integrating like the Ukraine crisis and what's happening there into our curriculum, because basically everything that's happening in the world today can be looked at through a global politics lens, which makes it really applicable to the world at large and for anyone interested in like going into fields that relate to like politics or foreign policy. And the external assessments, I think they're both similar to history. And so you have a good base just having like Miss Jessie and Mr. Wandel as your teachers, because they are really good. And then you also have the GLOPO teacher. And then the internal assessment is really cool just because we haven't started it yet, but we just are able to look at everything that we're interested in.
Okay, I'm very conscious of the time, and I want to. We just have a student panel. One more check in. We're going to do a popcorn. If there's anything, I know we've dabbled in a couple of these questions already, but if there's something that we didn't ask the right question, or there's something else you want to share, now's your opportunity. Taking a look at those questions. Any students have anything you want to share before we bounce? Maya, thank you for raising your hand.
So I was looking at the question, how is the transition from the MYP to the DP program? When I was a sophomore watching this presentation, a lot of the juniors and seniors said that it was a pretty difficult transition for me, and I'd say a decent amount of the current seniors. It was probably easier given that we were online, unless online was a barrier. But I want to say that even if it might be a difficult transition, just continue with the DP program, because you ultimately get the hang of it, and it's not, eventually, once you get the hang of it, it's not going to be as hard as it seems. So stick with it.
Maya, thank you for answering that, because I was really hoping somebody would answer that, because I'm sure that's on probably a lot of our 10th graders' minds. Just as you build your muscles with your workouts, your academic muscles get flexed when you go through the program. I'm actually, I said I was going to popcorn it, but either Caleb or Ethan, either one of you, since it's been such a recent transition from MYP to DP, either of you have a comment on that?
I think the teachers have really helped with the transition. And so like, especially in English, just with how challenging the English curriculum is at ISB, the teachers have really helped prepare us for what we need to do in the IB curriculum through MYP. And so even though I just came in 9th grade, I'm able to be doing decent in English because of how well 9th and 10th grade prepared me for IB.
Thank you for that.
The word on the street is that the transition from 8th grade to 9th grade is more challenging than the transition from 11th grade or 10th grade to 11th grade. Do you guys agree with that? You may not, I don't know. Yeah.
I see a couple of nods. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Tracy, we're going to turn it over to some questions I think you've been collecting either in the chat or on the Padlet.
I have. So if you have more questions, the link to the Padlet, you can definitely just put them in the chat in the YouTube. But if you want to use the Padlet, there's a link to the Padlet in the chat. So Amy, I'm going to give you the first question. I'm going to try to combine. I think we had 3 questions about self-taught, and we don't have a slide for self-taught. So can you explain what self-taught language is? Yeah, let's start there.
Self-taught language basically says it's an international program in international schools all over the world. So kids come to schools all over the world with academic proficiency in a variety of languages that are not necessarily taught in that new school. So, or in the school of that particular country. So in this country, in our school, we teach in English, but we have students in our school who are doing self-taught Arabic, who are doing self-taught Russian. We've had self-taught Chinese, self-taught Spanish, self-taught Vietnamese, self-taught French, self-taught German. And these are all students who are capable of reading and writing academically in another language that's not offered at this school, that is the kind of reading and writing that you would do in an English class at ISB. So it's literature, you read books, it is self-taught, so you're self-directed, you are coached along the way by an ISB teacher. We have tutors available for you as well to support you. But fundamentally, it's self-directed learning. And then you're in a position to graduate, I think, with a bilingual degree. And so that's pretty cool too. So self-taught language is taken in addition to English. And it could be in place of your world language, group 2, instead of taking Spanish, Chinese, or Japanese, or it could be in addition to Spanish, Chinese, and Japanese, and it could be your group 6, which means you potentially could be doing 3 languages.
Amy, can you talk a little bit about what supports there are and how it's graded?
it's graded, I think, on a pass-fail basis at ISB, but the international, the baccalaureate grades it. They have their own examiners. There's no one at ISB who's in a position to assess Arabic, for example, or to be able to assess Czech or whatever language is out there. So all the students do, they work, they write, they practice the writing, they work with a tutor. We have tutors available, I think, for them. And they're coached in like, this is how to study literature. It kind of mirrors what's going on for them in their traditional English program. But then all of their work, their IA, which is an oral, and then their written tasks, those are all uploaded to IB for examiners out in the world to assess. And then they have also exams in May, external assessments.
Okay, Scott, I think I'm going to give you this one. Can you explain the extended studies that's on the forecasting form?
Yeah, absolutely. Our extended studies are just extra time, extra minutes within our 11th grade courses. The ones that all students are going to be doing an HL in. There are required number of seat hours that each of those classes. So it's there's an extended bio, extended history, and extended just lost it. Bio.
English is the third.
English, thank you. And so they're each a quarter long, and they rotate through those quarters. And the fourth quarter they land in their extended essay support group to get their extended essay kicked off before they go to their summer between junior and senior year. So it's an extra topics that we don't necessarily have the minutes for in a general 2-year course. It's just a little extra time in that course.
Andrew, I'm going to give you this one, hopefully, since you're new though. Let me see, how can I combine these? Can you talk a little bit about the group 6 electives and if we could ever offer physics or computer science? And yeah, let's start there.
So one of the ongoing challenges of ISB is that we're a small school. And so right now what we're seeing is even to be able to offer 4 or a little bit, sometimes 5, depending on how you count the languages, different group 6 classes already stretches us really thin. And so what it would mean that if we were to switch, let's suppose IB computer science or IB philosophy, it means that something else has to drop away. So it comes down to staffing. It comes down to being able to offer a course that has a number of students in it, so that in fact we can run it based upon the staff that we have. And they have shifted some over the years, like we said. I mean, I don't know how long psychology has been around. Global politics, I know, is fairly new for us. So courses have come and gone over the years. Amy, I think, didn't we do environmental science at some point? Do we ever do environmental science? No. Okay. And so I know there's been some changes, but at this point, the slate that we have offered is what we're going to be offering.
I also want to add, because one of the caveats to this question was, how do students who are interested in STEM or engineering, how do our courses relate to that? And I want to say that we have lots of students who want to go into engineering and do go into engineering and do just fine in engineering from ISB. And they took physics freshman year, and that is that's all you need to get into a engineering program in college. So even though we don't have IB physics, it's still okay. Amy, can you talk about the scores of 1 through 7, the IB scores of 1 to 7, and how that translates to a letter grade and GPA?
Yes. So all of our grades are based on the MYP scale of 1 to 8. And basically, essentially a 4, an IB 4 is kind of like a C. It's kind of like a C. An IB 5 is kind of like a B. A 6, 7 is sort of your A range. And that's kind of the how it translates, I guess. Does that Is that the question? Am I missing
It-
something?
Well, I think that you also want to say that they're two separate things, that you will get your students will get a letter grade every semester for the next 4
For the
semesters.
transcript, right?
On their transcript, and that is not that some of the IB assessments will count towards their letter grade, but there's also things like they'll take an exam that doesn't that IB is not scoring, but that will go toward their letter grade on their transcript. Hopefully that makes sense.
Right. So the curriculum that the teachers are teaching and that the work that they're assessing is just it's classwork. So I give exams in my class and students study for them and they get grades on their transcript. And I hope, and all of my exams are based on actual IB questions from former exams. So every single question that they get, I'm grabbing from an old exam and I'm scoring it based on the mark schemes that IB is provided to me. And based on that, I'm giving them a grade from the 1 to 8 MYP. It's like all of the high schools in Beaverton that teach IB psychology. We're all using the same DP 1 to 8 scale, except for the schools that are 1 to 4. But so, and all that makes for a transcripted grade. And then I do predict for every student how I think they're going to do on that 1 to 7. And for students who are looking at going to university abroad in Canada or in Europe or wherever, then the predicted grades kind of matter. But for most kids in the United States, it doesn't matter. And the other thing that's interesting is about all of this is students are already meeting their roommates and they're already committing to their schools and they're already shopping for new sheets for their dorm room bed well before they ever actually find out how they do on their IB scores. No one finds out on their IB results of what their IB results are until July 6th, a month after graduation. So that's another thing too. Most students have fully committed to their universities and colleges. It's the international schools where admission can be conditional based on whether or not students actually meet the predicted grades or not.
Thank you, Amy. I'm going to try to cover a lot of questions with one with an explanation. So you can get college credit for your IB classes, and there are, as we mentioned earlier, you can enter as sophomore. Some students will enter with sophomore status especially at public universities in Oregon. And there is the $3,000 a year scholarship if you get over a 30-point diploma. But I wanted to say, I want to show you, actually, I'm going to share my screen, that you can Google, and I know it sounds silly to say, just Google it, but you can Google the name of the college and International Baccalaureate, and it will almost always take you to a page that looks like this. So this is the Oregon State University AP and IB policies. So one of the other questions that was asked was, how does AP compare to IB as far as college credit is concerned? And so you can look and see what you would get. I think you'll find that it's very similar for the AP and IB credit. But if you scroll down IB credit, you can go to, for instance, IB Visual Arts, and this is the standard level exam, and this is the higher level exam. So for Visual Arts, you get three credits of art. For higher level, you get 6 credits of art. For biology, for a score of 4, you get Biology 101. You don't have to take that. For a score of 4 higher level, which is what we offer, you get these 3 biology classes. For a score of 5 to 7, you get all the way through 200 level biology. So there is a lot of credit available to our students through the IB exams. And like I said, we are most familiar with the Oregon public and private universities, I would say, but the public universities have a standard what's the word I'm looking for? They meet and they decide like we're all going to offer credit for a 4 or higher on the exams. Private universities don't meet like that. They'll pick and choose. And I will also say that the more selective the school, the less likely they are to grant credit for IB exams, for AP exams, and for community college. But they do expect that you've taken AP or IB classes in order to get into those schools. Let me see where I'm at with those questions. As far as the supports that we offer at ISB for college admission, every student has, or for the college application process, every student in their junior year will have a junior meeting with their counselor. We will go over their pathway to graduation. We will go over what they're thinking about. Myself and my co-counselor, Catherine Hirsch, take a lot of pride in the amount of individual attention that we give students as they apply to college. We meet regularly. We're there to answer any questions. We read essays. We track you down if you haven't applied yet, and we ask you what's going on. And so that's one of the real benefits, I think, of going to a small school like that. So let me make sure that I got those questions. Oh, and then I'm also the AVID coordinator at the school. And so like we said, AVID offers assistance all the way through high school and middle school. But when they get to junior and senior year, they're really focusing on getting through the DP program in general, and then applying to college and to scholarships, doing the FAFSA. Our AVID junior and senior year teacher has gotten really familiar with all the nuances of the FAFSA and helping students with FAFSA is how you apply for federal financial aid, and helping with that. And they will just transition. One of the other questions was, how does an AVID student transition from sophomore to junior year? They will take it. They will take it in place of their IB seminar, like they have been all throughout high school. However, in the second semester of junior year, they do not have AVID for a semester while they take a semester of TOK, of Theory of Knowledge. Okay, let me see where I am after all of that. So, Amy, while I'm going over these, can you talk a little bit about, so it says, so not all ISB seniors actually earn an IB diploma. What percentage pass their IB diploma tests and get an IB diploma? And maybe you could talk a little bit about, like I think a pretty high percent pass some exams, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So first of all, nobody has to test and nobody has to go for an IB diploma. You have to do all the coursework though for it. So because of that, because everyone's doing it, most students, there is a culture at the school that most people go for it. But every year we have a handful of students who don't test and everything and don't register for everything. And they're called course candidates. And that's actually the norm in most comprehensive high schools. You'll have hundreds of kids take tests at, say, Mountainside or Lincoln High School or something like that. Whereas we have this many kids, but they test in everything, but they don't have to. They pick and choose in October of their senior year. So that's part one. And part two, of all of the students who try for an IB diploma, consistently, year after year after year, 70% of those students earn an IB diploma. So when you're looking at all but maybe 6 students going for the full IB diploma, of a whole class, 70% get it. And then of the ones who get that IB diploma, another 50%, 45% get that high point diploma of 30 points or more. So that's what that is.
And Amy, I'll give you this next one too. Can a student appear for both SL and HL exams in a particular course, or how should the student choose either of those?
There are 2 courses, really one course where it matters right now because it's a specific curriculum, and that's math. HL math is its own course, and it's with its own teacher, with its own book, with its own content. SL math is different, and then there's another SL math as well. Those are 3 distinct and discrete different courses. Everything else, though, it's the same thing. So if you're in visual arts, you can you're just in visual arts. And for some students, it'll end up being HL because they'll have enough pieces of work. For some students, it'll end up being SL because they'll have fewer pieces of work. Some students will say, well, gosh, if I HL in visual arts, that means maybe I can choose to SL in bio. Regardless, though, of whether a student SLs or HLs in bio, those students are getting taught the same curriculum every single day, and they're all in there together. And no one even knows for sure what they're choosing until October of the senior year. That's the same case for history. English is interesting. It's only taught HL. It's only offered HL. You cannot SL in English at our school. Language B, Spanish, Chinese, and Japanese. There are 3 levels there. You can HL. In HL, you read some works of literature in addition to everyday class. And so sometimes you're grouped with other HL kids, and the teachers, you pretty much know who you are in 10th grade, if you're on an HL track or not. SL is the average student at ISB. And then some students are ab initio, and those are students who are new to the language. Ab initio is Latin for from the beginning. And those students generally know what's going on with them as well. And teachers are tracking them. So those are, let's see, I'm thinking group 1, group 2, group 3. Most of our group 6 classes are only SL. Yeah, there's options with math, but again, a student who's a sophomore pretty much knows what math class they're going into next year. There's options for visual arts, but not now. There will be a year from now. And then there are, yeah, I think that's kind of it.
And in order to be able to test or potentially earn the full diploma, you have to test in at least 3 HL classes.
3 and 3 or 4 and 2. And again, the benefits of why do 4, why do 3 is because some schools will give you a lot more credit for HLs rather than SLs. So for example, all of the public universities in Oregon generally will give you 9 to 12 credits for HLs and 4 to 6 credits for SLs. So you can earn quite a bit more credit with an HL, but there's a gamble because if you earn a low score in any one of your HLs, you don't get the IB diploma. So it's a little bit of a risk that students have to weigh it and make sense of it in October of the senior year.
And we'd help them and talk more about it along the way. Yeah. I'm Scott, I'm going to give you this next one, and Amy, if you want to chime in as well. What is the possibility of getting your first choice class for next year? I'm assuming this means mostly for group 6.
Yeah, I interpret that to be group 6 as well. And honestly, we look at all of the results for everyone, and we see where we lay them all out, and we say, can we offer a class or can we not? We try very hard to give kids their first choice, but sometimes if there's not a high enough incidence of students that really want to take a class, we have to go to their second choice because we can't afford to run a class of 9 students or 10 students. And so those 9 or 10 students, we will then default by looking at, okay, we can't run their first choice. What is their second choice? And then we will just add that and subdivide it to their second choice class. But all in all, unless it's an even split straight down the middle of all the classes, which I hope we never have because that would be a nightmare, most kids get their first choice. A lot of them get their first choice. So the chances are good. Amy, did you want to add anything to that? Okay.
All right, I'm going to take the last question, and I realized I misspoke earlier. So what are some sources if you want to take higher level math during summer school? And I think that I said when I talked about math that if you were in AGS 3, you were going to math. What I always forget the name. Math.
AISL 1.
Okay. I know, but I think I said that you were going into what used to be called math studies.
Yes, and that's
MAI.
Wrong. Yeah.
MAI, which is not the case. So you are going into the AGS 3 course goes into the mid-level math, and then pre-calculus can go into higher level or standard level math. There are some resources to take pre-calculus over the summer. You can take it through Jesuit High School, Arizona State University, or BYU University. The last two are online. Jesuit is in person. Please, please, please talk to your counselor and your math teacher if you think about doing that. Every year we have some students doing that, and in all honesty, we have mixed results on how it turns out. Because the HL math course is very, very challenging. And so if you don't get that solid math pre-calculus during the summer, it can be a real challenge to go into HL math. So if that's something that you're thinking about, make sure that you talk to your counselor, and most importantly, that you talk to your math teacher about it.
Are any of the students in HL math? How is it?
I've always kind of been strong in math my entire life from elementary school. So it's honestly, I don't think it's that bad of a math class. Like what Miss Meilenberg said though, if you're transferring into the higher math class from taking Ages 3, I would warn you about doing that. Several kids did that in my grade, and the difference between my junior year math class and my current math class, the size difference is like 8 kids. 8 kids dropped down to SL from HL. So it is a challenge, but if you're up for the challenge and you are good at math, then it's honestly not that bad. And it also gave me the opportunity to like drop down to SL Bio, which is a class I wasn't as strong in. So if you're able to, it's honestly a good opportunity.
And we just got another question that popped up. Is summer school an extra cost? And yes, it is. Well, I think for the classes that advance, it is. I believe last year summer school regular courses didn't cost money, but I'm not sure exactly how it's working this year. But I think when you're trying to take an extra class, that it does cost money. And I think that is all of our questions for now. Let me check the YouTube again. If you have any questions, you can put them into the Padlet right now or enter them onto the YouTube and we will answer them. And if not, that will be the end of our presentation.
Yeah, and you're always welcome to email any of us with questions, and we're all over the website, and please do reach out if anything you need to know anytime. We're available for you.
Absolutely.
Students, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, students. Yes. All right. I think that is it. I'm going to close out.